All right, folks, so those of you who are not watching in class right now, you're watching on the video, we're on section 11.6 doing the volume of spheres. We just watched a short video which is available on Schoology for where the volume of that sphere formula comes from, being 4/3 pi r cubed. Let's move on to an example. So here we go, our first example. Find the volume of this sphere. The radius of this sphere is what? 3. It's just a very easy matter of plug that in, folks. 4/3 pi r cubed. All right, so our volume equals 4/3 pi times 3 cubed. What is 3 cubed? 3 squared is 9. 3 cubed is 27. Okay, I'm just going to rewrite this quick. You don't necessarily have to at this stage. So we have 4/3 times 27 pi. Now, what I suggest doing is, again, reducing stuff down, cancel stuff. I don't like to have to do more work than I need to. And so I know that 27 is essentially on top of that fraction, and the 3 is on the bottom. So 3 goes into 27 9 times. 4 times 9, that means my volume is exactly 36 pi cubic millimeters. Questions? Now, one thing you may not know, and you all have to look at your calculator and figure this out on your calculator, but I'll tell you on my yellow calculators, to raise something to the third power, if you don't know how to do that, look below the clear key. If you look below the clear key, well, in fact, let me do this. All right, so here we go. Here's our picture of our calculator. So if you have one of my calculators, you are looking for that button right there, right below the clear key. If you have any other TI calculator, it's the same symbol, it's just in a different spot. Okay? It's below the pi. Okay, yeah. If you have a different TI calculator, it's below the pi key, but it's the exact same symbol. Okay? But that symbol, I don't know if you want to call it an echelon or whatever. In math, we call it a caret. Okay? In math, we call it a caret. And so all that does is it's like saying raised to. It's an arrow pointing up. So if you want to do 3 to the third power, you push 3, the caret, and then another 3, and it gives you 3 to the third power. Okay? Good to go? All right. So let's try another one. Coming over here. What's going on with this solid? What do we have? I see the cylinder, and it's not a circle, it's a sphere. We're talking 3 dimensions now. And it's inside. So am I adding a hemisphere to this? No. What I see when I look at this is a tub of ice cream with a Bobier-sized scoop taken out. Yeah? Okay, that's what we're subtracting that hemisphere. And so please remember that. I'm getting people who are flipping that around in your work. You can't just write subtraction in any order you want. 5 minus 2 and 2 minus 5 give me very different answers. Okay? So, we need to go through and make sure that we're doing this in the proper order. We are starting with which shape? The tub of ice cream. That's where we start, right? So the cylinder. And so it's base times height. And I'm subtracting my scoop of ice cream. I'm subtracting the hemisphere. So I'm subtracting 1/2 of a sphere. Okay. Remember, capital B stands for the area of the base. So what is our area formula for the base of a cylinder? Pi r squared. It's a circle. So we have pi r squared times h minus 1/2 of a sphere. 4/3 pi r cubed. Okay. Well, what's the radius? 3. What's the height of the cylinder? 5. Plug and chug. We got pi times 3 squared times 5 minus. I strongly suggest doing the 1/2 times 4/3. It's easy, folks. The 2's on the bottom, the 4's on top. They cancel. I get 2/3. So 2/3 pi times 3 cubed. All right, so I'll do a little work at a time here. 3 squared is 9. 9 times 5. So I have 45 pi minus, again, make sure that you do exponents first. Exponents first. That's order of operations. So 3 to the third power is 27. But remember that 27 is like being on top of that fraction. And so I can take 3 out of 27, leaving me with 9 behind. So 2 times 9 is 18 pi. And so then what does my 45 pi minus 18 pi give me? 27 pi cubic inches. Questions? None yet. Okay, then we're going to try this, see what you guys can do on your own. So we're working this problem here. And what's different? A couple things are different in this one.
You're adding.
First off, you're adding the hemisphere instead of subtracting it. Good call. And one more thing.
The decimal.
We're rounding our answers, right? We're rounding our answers to 2 decimal places. So, ready, set, go. Okay, folks. Let's come back together here and take a look at what we should be doing here. I'm seeing a lot of people who are setting this up correct and then either not paying attention to detail or forgetting some stuff. And then I see other folks who are writing everything down right, plugging in right, and then when it comes down time to use the calculator, things are falling apart. Okay? So let's take it step by step. We have what 2 solids making up this shape? Yep, a hemisphere and a cylinder. And so my volume is going to be, now I saw almost everybody do the cylinder first, so that's how I'm going to write mine. When we're adding, it doesn't matter, right? When you're adding, it doesn't matter what order you do it in. And so I'm going to say base times height plus half of my sphere. Okay, so my volume is, the area of the base is pi r squared times the height of the cylinder plus 1/2 times 4/3 pi r cubed. So next, I see my radius is 5.8. And I see the height of the cylinder is 14. So let's plug that in. Pi times 5.8 squared times 14 plus, at this stage, I also like to multiply the 1/2 times the 4/3 because it's easy to do. It gives me 2/3. Pi times 5.8 cubed. All right, now here's the issue. Now those of you watching the video, please try to follow along with your calculators. You won't be able to see what I'm doing. But for everybody else, please make sure you grab your calculators, follow along here. We're going to talk our way through it, and everybody's going to punch buttons with me. Okay? So, order of operations. In the order of operations, I have to make sure to multiply before I add, right? So that means the very last thing I'm going to do is this addition. That's the last thing I'm doing, so I'm not even going to worry about it right now. Okay, so now I need to look at everything that's on the left side here. So then what's the first thing I need to do on the left side of that little equation? Exponents, right? I got to do my exponents. So in my calculator, I'm going to take 5.8 squared. Push enter, get my answer. Excuse me. And so we should all have 33.64 in our calculators right now. Right? Okay. Well, now I can multiply by the other 2 things. I can take that times 14 times pi, right? So times 14, if you want to push enter and then say times pi, that's fine. But I'm just going to do it at the same time. So times 14 times pi. And you don't even have to retype the 33.64. If you just say times right away, it'll come up as answer times the next number, right? Okay. So after doing that, we should all have the same thing right now, and I'm going to write this down. We should all have on our calculator 1,479.5645. Why did I write 4 decimal places?
Because that's what you do until the end.
Right. We are rounding at the end, and so until the end, we've got to round to a farther decimal point than what they ask for. So I usually pick 4. That usually gets us pretty darn close, okay? So then plus, I got to do the rest of that. Again, the first thing I need to do is my exponent. So I got to take 5.8 to the 3rd power So we should all have 195.112, right? I got to multiply that by pi, so I'm going to say times pi. So now I have 612.962 blah, blah, blah. Yes? Okay. Now I got to multiply that by 2/3. Now here's the thing. I could do that in 2 steps. I could say multiply by 2, push enter, and then divide by 3, push enter, there's my answer. Or remember that I can say times, and then as long as I put it in parentheses, 2 divided by 3, the calculator knows what I'm talking about. The calculator knows that I want to multiply that by 2/3. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to say times, parentheses, 2 divided by 3, and now I have 408.6416. Everybody there? Doing okay? All right, well, our last step is to add those two things together. Please remember, you rounded stuff, so we need to use our rounded answers here to show our proper work. So 1479.6545 plus 408.6416 gives us our grand total of 1,888.21 cubic feet. Make sure to round to what they ask you to round to. Proper rounding to 2 decimal places is what they ask for. Okay? Questions? Those of you who did not get the correct answer as I was walking around, everybody get the correct answer now? Know what you did wrong? Okay? A lot of times it's calculator error. We've got to be careful. Got to follow those order of operations. All right, let's do one more. Go to the back side. All right, so taking a look here. What 2 solids do we have here? A cone and a hemisphere. I'm getting very hungry working this problem 4 times a day because this is a waffle cone. Love waffle cones. All right, so we have a waffle cone. We want to find the volume of it. So we got to take the volume of our cone plus a hemisphere. So our volume is going to equal a cone, 1/3 base times height, plus a hemisphere, so half of a sphere. Capital B is the area of our base. And what's the base of a cone? A circle, so it's pi r squared times h plus 1/2 of a sphere, 4/3 pi r cubed. All right, well, looking at this diagram, we can plainly see that the radius is 4.9 and the height of the cone is 12.6. So let's plug in. 1/3 pi times 4.9 squared times 12.6 plus, again, 1/2 of 4/3 is 2/3 pi times 4.9 cubed. So just like we did before, I'm just going to kind of walk through it. We can do this in the calculator in 2 stages, right? So I got to start with the 4.9 squared. So 4.9 squared gives me 24.01, which I can then multiply that by 12.6, which I now get 302.526. I need to multiply that times pi, giving me 950.41 blah, blah, blah. And I need to multiply by 1/3. So I can do that like I did before, multiply by the fraction, or in this case I can do what? Multiplying by 1/3 is the same thing as dividing it by 3. So I could just say divided by 3 at this point. And so then all of this should come out as 316.8045 plus. Now we got to do the other side. And again, order of operations state that we need to do the cube first. So 4.9 cubed. So we have 117.649. Take that times pi. Gives us 369.60 blah, blah, blah. And now I've got to multiply that by 2/3. Again, I've got those two options. I can multiply by the fraction 2/3 as long as you type it in the calculator correct. Or I can multiply by 2, get an answer, divide by 3 to get my final answer. Okay, so I'm going to take it times 2/3. So in my calculator I type times, parenthesis, 2 divided by 3. And that gives me 246.4035. That's all of that multiplied together. And so our last step is to do that addition. So 316.8045 plus 246.4035. Our volume is approximately 563.21 cubic centimeters. Questions?